Islam, I am here if you look danger for your ill. This is that More Stuff Podcast Network coming to you for another edition of the Moorish Birthright in North America, the North Gate. I am Moor by blood, ego sum sanguinium maro, appropriate persona sui juris, jus sanguinis, jus soli, Moor by blood, by soil, by birthright, son of one mother, Ana Abin on Azima. This particular podcast, the name of it is going to be Zodiac Constitution. The Zodiac Constitution by the Most Honorable C.M.Bey was created, prepared by C.M.Bey, the Honorable C.M.Bey. All right, and the Zodiac Constitution, based off the 12 signs of the Zodiac, the laws of nature. All right, and this 12 signs of the Zodiac was prepared in the in the mid 1900s here by C.M.Bey. It was registered in the Library of Congress under the registration number Truth A1 AA 222141. And you can look this document up online, man. It's a fascinating document, and it is actually Moorish law. The Zodiac Constitution is Moorish law, and the great ancestor put this thing together, man, to give us a master, actually, to politically, to give us some kind of political lifesaver, as commissioned by the Most Honorable Noble Drew Ali. All right. And when this document, as I read up on C.M.Bey's, some of the things he did, when he was preparing this document, man, he had went to college first. He went to the University of Yucatan, is what my studies show me, and learned about the Moabite, our Moorish nation, the Moabite science, and the 12 signs of the Zodiac, and he prepared 2 books, Clocks of Destiny 1 and 2. Of course, he has more books under the Zodiac series that I would recommend every melanated person that identifies as Black to look to acquiring, including the Zodiac Constitution. All right. So what's going to happen today, this evening, is I'm going to read through the Zodiac Constitution and also make commentaries on it as well, and then there'll be commentary and some information placed out after I read the Cosmo Constitution, the Zodiac Constitution, which another name for it is the Cosmic Moorish American Constitution, all right? Because it's based off of the laws of nature, 12 signs of the Zodiac, all right? All right, so I'm going to read the preface first, and the preface is just the explanation of the acknowledgments regarding the document and the fact that the world leaders, your priests, any leadership in most religious institutions know all about this document. Lawmakers, politicians know all about this document, the Zodiac Constitution. And actually this document is based off of the Great Law of Peace. All right, the Great Law of Peace. And I'm going to talk more about the Great Law of Peace, the Confederacy, the Iroquois Confederacy. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because the concept of this Constitution, the Zodiac Constitution, comes directly from that, and it is the Moorish. It is directly from Moorish law, which is nature's law, etc., etc. All right. So let's go ahead and go into the preface. Preface, the Zodiac Constitution. Moorish adepts, Moorish scientists, master masons, Eastern stars, sheiks, sheikesses, neophytes, great seal PhDs, LLDs, the erudite of jurisprudence, and amanuenses, masters, and world scholars have studied and marveled upon analyzing the written Zodiac Constitution. This highly qualified document was penned by C.M.Bey, a third, 33rd, and 360 degree Freemore Master Mason, Free Moorish Master Mason, Master Astrologer, PhD, LLD, and Constitutional Lawgiver. This master work was copyrighted and registered in the Library of Congress. Copyright offices with the Department of Justice at Washington, D.C., United States Republic of North America. There are interesting and effective literary characteristics about C.M.Bey's written Zodiac Constitution, which go beyond the fact of its being clear, simple, and direct. More scholars will take note that it maintains the ancient Moabite, more scientific, metaphysical, and spiritual approach to the number 7, in harmony with the natural constitution of man's makeup. Other learned intellectuals of the varied and advanced Gnostic schools of the world and of government no doubt must appreciate its uncluttered directness and integrity toward justice. The written Zodiac Constitution was not readily available to the masses due to the nature of limited access to Moorish schools of learning and the suppression of information practices by Union State Society politicians and other secret societies, policies of clubism culture. The true history and law of North America has never been revealed to the subjugated masses. This antisocial practice is part of the necessary socialization tools for maintaining veiled economic political, bureaucratic servitude in the Americas, particularly in the Northgate. Let us be qualified in our understanding of the Zodiac Constitution. It is not just the actual written 7-article document as presented to you for reading, historical analysis, and law study. The general populace must have access to that consciousness involving the true history and scientific foundation of civilization. All right, let's see here. And culture on the planet Earth. Here we go. Thusly, one immediately and wisely recognizes what actually comprises the Zodiac Constitution and the elemental nature of what inspires C.M.Bey to produce the inclusively complex scale, of this impact and evidentiary treatise on right law government. What comprises the Zodiac Constitution is expressed and revealed in the first opening paragraph of Article 1 as written by C.M.Bey. His literary works have come manifest by way of knowledge of the zodiac or workings of nature, the Moorish code for civilization, and the sciences mentioned, and so one can surmise that astrology, the 12 signs of the zodiac, an expansion of the code of mathematic scale involving 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the science of geometry, G, the letter G, and Arabic alphabet comprise Moabite Moorish science, the culture and foundation of civilization on planet Earth. A logistical study of the Zodiac Constitution should generate years of research and recovery of world culture and true American history. For all who seek truth, let us affirm our honor for our ancient mothers and fathers. Embrace knowledge and shun ignorance. Help to uplift fallen humanity. Habu, Haq, Salam, Hariyatun, Adil, Islam, Assalamu Alaikum, Baramakum. This is by Ty Sharice Bey, Understood the Elder. A free Moor, son of a widow. Moorish Divine National Movement. Moorish Science Temple of America. Moorish Order of the Round Table. All right. Let me me see, Shakopee Territory, northwest of Mexico. All right. All right. That was the preface by one of our honorable Moorish elders there, and who actually was responsible for the reprint is an Amir of the or head of the Moors Order Roundtable, and they preserved and helped print out these documents to be placed online. Them and a couple, I think, a few other groups that were working on the Zodiac Constitution and putting it out online, and they did a great job. And so honors to those hardworking Moors and the elders who's been doing this for many decades. I send my peace, respect, and honors to all of them. All right. So we're gonna move on to Article 1, and so like I said, I'm just gonna read through these articles, man, and do commentaries on it, and give a little bit of information out, and do some explanation, because there are some writings, within my studies and looking over the information. I see that there are some excellent documentaries, short documentaries, explanations in regards to the Zodiac Constitution. It's not a whole lot, it's a few throughout the years, and go over some parts of the Zodiac Constitution. Great information out there, and I feel like I just wanted to really go in deep on this document here. And also, I believe I'm going to have to do more than one. I think I'm going to have to do more than one podcast on the Zodiac Constitution, because it covers so many different ideas in 7 short articles. All right, 7 short articles, so many different ideas. So I think it will be necessary to just deal with a more than one podcast in regards to this excellent document here, this Constitution, which is Moorish law. This is our Moorish law to be enforced to the Union States Society or the United States Corporation, all right, which we are part and parcel to the said government, melanated beings over here in North America who identify as black, who are Moors, all right? All right, Article 1. The 12 signs of the Zodiac, the code of mathematics, scaling from 0 to 9, and the science of geometry, comprise the Constitution of the living Moorish nation of North America, referred to as Negroes, who rule the world and 7 seas by the 12 signs of the Zodiac and the science of geometry for 1196 years. To the Amazon, Dutch, German Catholic priesthood, fathers of the Revolution of 1789, and the Sisterhood, Magna Charta, Emancipation Proclamation, Union Society of White Supremacy in 1863. The 12 jurymen of the 50 Union States Society, and also the 9 judges of the Supreme Court, were founded upon the Moorish nation's 12 signs of the Zodiac in mathematics, scaling from 0 to 9. Thus, without our Moorish Constitution, the Magna Charta, Emancipation Proclamation, Union Society of the myth of white supremacy definitely could not have been founded in 1863. All right, Article 1. So, this is just pretty much explaining about the fact that the Moors in North America, the seeing who identify as Negroes, ruled the world, for at least 1196 years now. The Honorable C.M.Bey, when he put this particular article in, it's just a simple comparison to the Reconstruction of 1776 slave ship story, which we all buy from the European conglomerate or our Albion brothers and sisters without question. All right, this is a response to the Christopher Columbus story that he found a bunch of natives here, and they brought a bunch of Africans from Africa to settle over here as slaves. All right, and this is what Article 1 is covering. All right, and it's simply saying that the Moorish nation, based off of the 12 signs of the zodiac, sciences of 0 to 9, ruled the world for at least 1196 years. Now we've been over here for millions, for hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years. All right, it's not even a question. It's up to anybody really to prove that point or those points otherwise. And so the more research I do, I'm seeing that no one is proving those points. It's more whenever I, what I've seen, and I'm always looking for other ideas in this matter. I see emotionalism. I see a bunch of emotion when I look for other explanations when it comes to the out of Africa argument. It's more things like more so like oh, you don't want to be who your ancestors are. You don't want to be, you want to be something you're not. And those are some of the ideas I would always see. Or that's self-hate, or all kind of other things. But no one has shown any tangible evidence to back up the claims of 150 million melanated Moors were brought from African continents in the quote-unquote East over here to North America. All right. So essentially, Article 1 was simply placing foundation and a counter to the out of Africa theory, all right, of the diaspora, all right. So moving on to Article 2, and this particular article here, the Zodiac Constitution, birthright of the Moorish American, all right, all right, and this one is a very short one, straight to the point, explaining the birthright of the Moors in North America, all right, the Beys and the Elves, all right. Article 2, the Zodiac Constitution, birthright of the Moorish American, the Beys and the Elves, all right. Since the 12 jurymen of the 50 Union States Magna Charta document of white supremacy and the 9 judges of their Supreme Court were founded upon our Moorish Zodiac, 12 signs, mathematical constitution, the lawmakers have no jurisdiction over the free Moors, the Beys, and the Elves in the inherited land of Moorish nation, namely U.S.A, Canada, Central, and South America. The Moorish American nationality and their surnames Bey and El are their inherited birthrights without legal due process of the lawmakers of the Union Society, USA. What our Moorish forefathers were, we are today without a doubt or contradiction, namely Moorish. All right? All right, Article 2. Now, this article right here, Article 2 is simply explaining the essence of the jurisdiction of the United States Corporation since 1776. All right. The implementation of the United States Corporation or the Union State Society comes directly from the Moorish nation. And there's a long story to it. All right. Most of the story has been suppressed. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet to keep this podcast moving along. And I'll go more in depth on part 2 of the Zodiac Constitution. All right. So essentially, Article 2 is going in on jurisdiction. It is placing a magnification on jurisdiction, the jurisdiction of the Union States or the United States, all the way up to the Supreme Court, because it talked about the 12 jurymen of the 50 Union States Magna Charta of white supremacy and 9 judges, which is Supreme Court, was founded upon the Moorish science, 12 signs of the Zodiac. All right. And hence is where the Zodiac Constitution comes from, all right, which is based off of the Great Law of Peace, which is the first, the Confederacy that is essentially the Iroquois Confederacy, which is the Moorish, which is Moorish law. And that's where the Constitution for the United States, 1789, And any other statute and code comes from, if they, make up anything else is based off of that, it has to be in line with that. And essentially, especially the Constitution. And so, this Zodiac Constitution essentially states the jurisdiction that the Moorish nation has over the Union States Society, or AKA the United States of America Corporation, a Union States Corporation. The said government, they are an acting government, all right, but a corporation, all right. And so that is what Article 2 is explaining. And it also explains the jurisdiction, the geographical jurisdiction, which is the land, you know what I'm saying, North, South, Central America, Canada, et cetera, all right? So, moving to Article 3. Now, I'm not going to go in too far on Article 2. I want to go further, but I think I'm going to say that for Part 2, all right? So, Article 3. This article, tax and military exemption for Moorish Americans. All right, tax and military exemption for Moorish Americans. So, and this particular one here, for the military drafts, and I can tell a short story about this, man. I remember when, I was 17 years of age, and I ended up having, we have selective service over here in North America, where you have to register for the military in case there's a war, a draft for war. It's just like what they used to do back in the day. You have to, sign up, sign your duty card or whatever, register to be drafted, back in after 1933. All right, you have to register to be drafted, and so, as you know, when I was back in, I think that was the late '90s, I signed up, to be drafted. The little selective service card, meaning they select what area of service they're gonna put you in if there's a draft. And that's what it's really about, selective service, And so I signed up for it. I remember thinking, man, I do not want to go to war. I'm not trying to be drafted. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I wasn't going to jail, because if you don't sign up for it, they got jurisdiction over you. They're gonna send you to jail. All right, that's the way it works. Excuse me. And so I signed up. I ain't like it, and and when I woke up in 2012, I'm thinking, and read this document, the Zodiac Constitution. I'm thinking, where was this document at? You know what I'm saying? Back in the day. Not that I was going to be of a company of mind to even stand on the rights. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes study. It really takes study in this thing, and understanding that you are a descendant of the ancient Moabites, of the first people of these lands. It's more than just having a document and telling them what they can do and can do, but you have to be able to stand on that document. You have to be able to know in your heart, in your mind, that you do descend from the great race of people over here in these lands. All right. So just telling that story, man. And I'm a quote unquote veteran of the U.S. military. I was in for a few years, man, and I'm grateful I made it through that. You see what I'm saying? But this here just explains tax and military exemption for Moorish Americans. All right, the Moors who identify as Negroes, colors, and blacks. All right. So here we go. Article 3: tax and military exemption for Moorish Americans, the Beys and the Elves. The Moors, who identify as or refer to Negroes, or AKA blacks, quote unquote blacks, definitely can never become members and citizens of the Union Society of the 48 states. Therefore, they cannot be forced or drafted into the Union USA Army or military service to fight for the Magna Charta Code of the white supremacy against themselves. The lawmakers of the 48 Union States order cannot force the Moors, the Beys, and the Elves to pay taxes, because taxation without representation is a supreme violation of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution birthrights of Islam, I self law and master. When the when the Union lawmakers denounce their immoral Magna Charta Code and resort to the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors are compelled to pay taxes because every one of the nation will be equally represented by it. There is no room in the science of masonry, the zodiac, for mystic god, religious worship, race, color, ignorance, war, crime, slavery, and human injustice. All right. Simply put, Article 3. That was an excellent article right there, man. Wrote by the great ancestor C.M.Bey. All right, so pretty much it's essentially talking about the exemption for Moorish Americans and the melanated beings here in North America that cannot be forced into drafting, by the United States Corporation or the Union States and our military service. And now, in saying that, all right, C.M.Bey, I'm going to get to some of the later articles where C.M.Bey talks about the fact that we respect all of the laws, Constitution, United States codes, etc., because we are part and parcel to the said government because we brought them into power, essentially, all right? And you look at one of the videos online on YouTube, Mr. Barack Obama, during his tenure within the White House presidency as a praetor or president, he states that his country, the United States, was founded under Moorish law, or Muslim law, which that's talking about the science and the history, all right? And the religion is included in that too. Now, and also just so we'll know, a Muslim is religion, it is culture as well, and Muslim and Moor is also synonymous based off of pedigree, meaning dark skin, thick lips, kinky hair, etc. What you would call African. All right. So this is essentially the essence of what Article 3 is talking about. The fact that we can't be forced into military service. However, because we're part and parcel to the said government, we can join the military if we want to. Under our Moorish birthright. All right, because the history is that there are two nations in North America. All right, you got the European nation and the Moorish nation, and so that is the approach that Moorish Americans are supposed to take. All right, now now the second part of this, taxes. You know what I'm saying? The Moors are not cannot be forced to pay taxes because there's no representation. All right, so taxation without representation, that is a violation of the Constitution for the United States, and it's a violation of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution as well. All right, and it's also a violation of the Magna Charta Code, which is where the Union States or the United States got their they got the Magna Charta Code from the Moorish Zodiac Constitution. All right, or the Moorish Great Law of Peace. All right. And the Zodiac Constitution or Zodiac Law, all right? And so if the Union States if they start to, pay homage to the 12 signs of the Zodiac, Moorish law, and come on out and start telling the truth, then the Moorish Americans will be compelled to pay taxes, all right? We're two states on these lands, and we have representation. You have Moorish Americans in office, in government to represent us. Not necessarily in their government, but a Moorish American in place to represent our nation, in times of controversy, if any controversy should arise, and then we have, therefore we feel compelled to pay taxes at that point because if we get in trouble, we want some type of representation. You see what I'm saying? We want somebody to represent us or to present us properly if we are lacking some law intelligence, in regards to jurisprudence, constitutional law, some statutes and codes, etc., that are in line with the Constitution. All right, move right along. Article 4, adequate employment and protection for Moorish Americans. Now this one, here, in Article 4, when I read Article 4, it was a great surprise to me to even see such a thing. You know what I mean? And it's pretty much describing the fact that the United States or the Union States is obligated to provide adequate employment. That means that, proper employment that where you can make a decent amount of money, actually a real good amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Something like maybe three to $5,000 a week, or $3,000 to $6,000 a week, somewhere around there. And based off of cost of living, inflation, all other types of things that we have to pay for to keep our families navigating and balanced. The Union States is responsible because they're here on the lands, doing business per the agreement between the Union States of the United States and the Moorish nation. And so, based off of them doing business here, all right, the people of the land, you are obligated to provide a certain service for in the midst of that. Now, because the Moors of North America forgot this, because we all forgot this, and we identify as all these different type of names, black and street names and colors and continents. We're not dealing with our Moorish nation, or we don't know that we have a whole heritage and a lineage. Then this is not really enforceable. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to enforce nothing as a color. You know what I'm saying? Because you're outside of your nationhood. You're outside of what the Constitution is saying, and this is just the essence of our issue. The people of melanated capacity over here in North America. This is the essence of our issue, and so we'll continue to try to try to tell the government to do this, do that. We're trying to march and do different things, when in reality, all we have to do is deal with our lineage, the truth about our heritage, and the fact that it's not just to some religion or some myth, you know what I mean, or for whatever reason, it's not going to help. You see what I'm saying? So, let's see here. Article 4, here we go. Adequate employment and protection for Moorish Americans. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read out Article 4 and go into this thing, all right? Every lawmaker, the heads of industry and business enterprise of the 50 States Union Order are obligated members and citizens of the Magna Charta Christian Church and Temple System of Christ, the King of Jews, meaning jury over the wealth and culture of the living Moorish nation of North America. Therefore, by the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors, the Beys, and Els can demand adequate employment, food, clothing, shelter, medical care, equal rights, respect, protection from mob violence, rape, and injustices, otherwise without being obligated to the Union Church and the religious system of the order, Christ, the white sun, idol, God. All right, so basically Article 4 here is explaining the fact that when the European conglomerate or the European nation or the Union States Society, aka United States of America, we're essentially given the keys to the Moorish estates after we failed, and there were so many wars just to keep it $150, keep it 100. There were wars between the Moors and the Europeans, and the Europeans weren't all, the pale-skinned brothers and sisters. It was some of the melanated Europeans as well, and some of us was in war with ourselves, and you had all these different wars, so we had to come up with a solution. Part of the solution was putting the keys in the hand of, some of the European conglomerate, all right, and the keys to the Moorish nation over here, the keys to our state, all right. And since they've been holding the keys to the state, they have certain obligations to the people of the land. All right, and those part of those obligations, adequate employment and protection for the people of the land, the Moorish Americans who identify as blacks and Negroes. All right, and that includes clothing, food, shelter, medical care. We should be paying for, we should be paying for medical care over here. It should be free. Food either, shelter either, and adequate employment. That means adequate employment, meaning that it matches. Adequate employment matches the cost of living and inflation. That's what adequate employment is. All right, it's not based off of whether you got a degree or not. It's based off of the inflation rate. All right, and it's based off of the inflation rate. Like we over here, we do experience, and when you have a degree or your knowledge base rather than training for the job and things like that. So adequate employment would not require that. All right. Let me see, and protections as well. Protection from mob violence, rape. And now this is not just police protection. This is military protection. All right. This is what the Union States are obligated to provide for Moorish Americans, for the Moors here in North America, under our Moorish birthright. All right, our Moorish birthright, and that's the key. That's the key. The Moorish birthright, which people are saying is a religion, but a Moorish, when it comes to Moorish American, that's not religion. Those are our political protections based off our birthright and our bloodline. All right. So Article 4 really is an excellent explanation of the birthright of the Moorish nation over here in North America since 1776 and the forming of the United States in the late 1800s, somewhere in the 1880s, somewhere around there when the United States was formed. 1780s? No, it was the 1780s when the United States was formed. It was in late, I think, 1780s when around the time the United States Supreme Courts were formed based off the Judiciary Act, and then the federal courts came along with that. All right. So we're gonna move on to Article 5. So Article 4 is just explaining the birthright, you see what I'm saying, the jurisdiction of the Moors again, meaning that, because you're over here on our lands, you have to provide adequate protections, employment, protections, et cetera, all right? So, Article 5. Now, Article 5 is more information on this one. It's a larger article, and essentially this one is talking about marriages. The name of Article 5 is Immoral Marriage License Code Against the Zodiac Law of Nature. All right, so this article here is it changed my mind completely about my approach to marriage. I've been married twice, personally. First marriage was common law, the way marriage was prior to the 1900s. All right, and the second marriage was through the court system, where you go and you ask permission to marry your spouse. Essentially is what they're saying, that you ask for a license. And you do this for political, and I won't say political reasons, for essentially business, because you have to have a marriage license to get certain refund from the IRS. Is when you're doing business with the IRS is what the marriage license is for. And also you use it when you're getting health insurance for a spouse or something like that. You have to usually have a marriage license. But really, in reality, all you need is a document showing, or some kind of proof that that your spouse, you and the spouse are living in the same residence. That there are other provisions that can be made for that from a common law capacity. All right. So Article 5 changed my whole mind about getting married, how I will get married again, in comparison to how I did in the past. All right. So Article 5, Immoral Marriage License Code Against the Zodiac Law of Nature. All right. Truth cannot be altered and therefore needs no apology nor doctrine, because it is the supreme mental doctor itself for the entire human family. woman, and man. Number one, thus, the truth is, sisterhood, Christian Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, established. The marriage license states, right code to prevent the Moorish men and women from marrying into the Magna Charta Society of White Supremacy. Did you ever stop to think that woman and man are already married by supreme law of nature? And that a marriage license is an act of violation of the law of nature. The law union between woman and man spells love and reproduction of a child in which marriage license plays no part in. Number three, definitely there cannot be any illegitimate children, offspring from woman and man, because woman is the supreme gate of creation of both male and female children by law of nature, which spells Islam, or Isef law and master, the carpenter and the grand architecture of the human family. Adam means the positive forces in woman and sons responsible for evolution or the reproduction of children by the law of nature. The Pope, the priest, the preacher, the judges of the Christian society definitely cannot prove that their Adam and Eve had marriage licenses. Did you ever stop to think that marriage license code is an act of selling women and men back to themselves? The Union, Magna Charta, marriage license code, unfortunately and unconsciously caused the white women to be cut off from the human family in the Moorish nation. In other words, the white women are supreme social slaves against their will and desire. This has caused them to carry in their mind and heart a secret sorrow and anger, which causes children to inherit a tendency of crime, hatred, insanity, and various other diseases. All right, Article 5. Now this thing covers many different topics in this article, essentially saying, now I'm going to go in on the license code based off in comparison to the Zodiac law of nature. The marriage license is like I was saying before, is for business. It's for business only. Business purposes, excuse me. It's nothing to do with the union of man and woman and God. All right, it's nothing to do with that. The marriage license. Now, people can argue this and anything, and I would humbly extend and suggest that, you know, when it comes to a higher power that some call God, some call Allah, or other names, Jehovah, etc., that's usually personal, private, and spiritual, and does not need a license. You know, when you get on one knee and pray, you don't need a license to do that. You know, when you meditate, you don't need a license to do that. When, like in the holy books, when 2 or 3 hold hands and agree that something is done, you don't need a license for that. Therefore, why would you need a license to be married for something that's natural? Now, I'm gonna tell you the truth over here in North America. All right, let's just be for real about this thing. If you needed a marriage license, because essentially, when you cohabit with someone, when you cohabit with a mate, all right, or with your girlfriend, say for instance, you're in college, you got a girlfriend, and when you cohabit or you are intimate with your girlfriend, or girlfriend is intimate with her boyfriend, based off zodiac nature and law, that's your wife. That's based off that's how it works. In our great tribes, in our past and lineage, sometimes we do ceremonies, and sometimes it just meant cohabiting based off the law of nature. You just cohabited and you intimate and you proliferate across the land and create tribes and nations, and you continue to multiply. All right, and there was no marriage license prior to 1900. So what were we doing? You know what I'm saying, before 1900? Well, some of the things we were doing was nation building. All right. One tribe would connect with another tribe, and hey, we switch like trading goods. If we was at war, one of our daughters will connect with one of your sons, and we'll merge our nation in this manner and have babies, and we'll become another nation. All right, our bigger tribe, et cetera, et cetera. That was one of the ways, and the other ways was just free will, essentially. And free will equal marriage. You cohabitate with this woman, you're responsible with her. You got her pregnant, you're responsible for her. She's now your wife, that's your child. All right, that's how we got down. That's just some of the ways. There were other ways as well per our cultures. And the Moors had many cultures over here in North America under one empire, which is the Moorish Empire, right? That's how it was done. Now, based off of, how we get down today, where we just, we occasionally go on a date, and after so many dates, we cohabit or are intimate. A lot of us will have several husbands and several wives, you know what I'm saying? Based off of the 12 signs of the Zodiac, based off real law. That's the truth. And so on the flip side, we'll look at getting a marriage license as settling down, That's cool, that's your business. But the actual truth to the matter is you're going to a corporation and asking for permission to marry your spouse, a grown man or woman under God, that's your private relationship with your maker, which the Union States or the courtroom or the judge has nothing to do with. It has no jurisdiction on at all. All right, that's the truth about it. That's the whole truth of the matter. So however you want to look at it, you can look at it as good, you can look at it as bad. It depends on what you make it. However, it's not required. You see what I'm saying? It's not required. A successful relationship is not required based off of the marriage license. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a real marriage based off of the marriage license. And usually what I've seen, my studies have told me that people only are focused on the marriage license just to make people pay. You know what I'm saying? If the relationship don't work, looking to make someone pay because, pay for any carnage that, whether it's at fault or you're a victim to it, looking to make someone pay for the carnage by suing them, taking them to court, taking all the, if you're giving the court jurisdiction over you like that, then they can take all your personal property, make you pay all these astronomical amounts of money or fiat to a cheating spouse, quote unquote cheating spouse in a monogamous relationship, whether male or female, or splitting the property, splitting up families, all kind of craziness, rather than being grown and figuring it out. Now, sometimes you got to get away if it's abusive and things like that, whether physical or psychological. But outside of that, people will look to go to the Union States to get a marriage license simply to take advantage of a situation when it comes to dispersing the marriage, and if it's not working out. You know what I'm saying? I got the Union States to lean on, then where I can come for you financially if you don't do what I say. That's if the laws are catered to me, whether I'm male or female or whatever. I got this over your head. I'm gonna make it's a lot of different things. That, and this is one of the reasons why the divorce rate is so high in North America, is because we have a lot of issues that we don't communicate about. So it's a whole. It is very interesting. I suggest people, hey, do your research on it. Don't take my word for it. These are just my personal studies and experience on this thing, and certainly opportunity for improvement with us. And we certainly, as melanated beings on this planet, particularly in North America, we certainly have the power and capacity to fix these issues and be noble with ourselves and deal with ourselves. That way we can deal with the spouse and be honorable to our spouses, whether we choose to go inside of a courtroom and get married or just do it based off nature, the correct way, the traditional way under the 12 signs of the Zodiac, which is the law of nature or nature's law. All right. And this is going back to the mindset of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, as Noble Drew Ali suggested. All right. Honest to the prophet. All right. All right, moving right along. Article 5. Now, Article 5 will deal with some of the other concepts in Article 5 on the Zodiac Constitution Part 2. All right, now I'm going to go into the human family portion of it, the meaning of Adam, Eve, the positive forces. That's more of the higher sciences, so I don't want to take a lot of time on that. The symbolisms on that, etc. So we'll go into that on Part 2 on each concept within that. All right, so we're still on Article 5 now, and I'm going to go into the second part of it, which is the second part of Article 5 is Islam, the I, self, law, and master, the supreme standard of zodiac marriage law, or culture. All right, and this is just as a description of the 12 signs of the zodiac, which are the energies that define the characteristics of the human family, the characteristics of some of the behaviors or navigations within the human family, all right? Based off personality, you can call it personality or character, etc. And these are just the sun signs, what you call the sun signs, all right, which is a major part of our navigations, our energetic navigations in these bodies, all right? These fleshy bodies. All right, so Islam, supreme standard of the zodiac marriage law, culture, all right? Here are some of the elements of the signs of the zodiac and women and men's opposite signs involving first, marriage of the zodiac law of nature. No preacher and money and license, neither religion, is necessary in the standard zodiac marriage law. All right, so you heard it right there by the grand ancestor. There's no marriage license needed when it comes to 12 signs of the zodiac. Your character, who you are, is between you and your creator. All right. So in harmony with nature, number one, Aries is fire, and Libra is air. All right, fire sign and air sign. Number two, Taurus is earth and Scorpio is water. Number three, Gemini is air and Sagittarius is fire. Number four, Cancer is water and Capricorn is earth. Number five, Leo is fire and Aquarius is air. Number six, Virgo is earth and Pisces is water. All right. The 1863 Union Bible, story of Eve and Adam, was founded upon the Moorish zodiac 12 signs law, the negative and the positive forces of nature, female and male. In harmony with nature, Aries is fire and Gemini is air. Leo is fire and Libra is air. Sagittarius is fire and Aquarius is air. Persons born under the opposite signs and the angle signs are in harmony with one another in every manner. Thus, first-hand knowledge of the sign under which you and your mate were born will guide your destiny in peace, progress, and happiness forever. All right? Let us remember that this is not a theory. Let me say that again. Let us remember that this is not a theory. The zodiac is the absolute universal standard of marriage and human guidance. Woman and man will know their duty toward one another and their children without being forced by the traditional code for the courtroom. All right, excellent statement right here at the end of this beautiful zodiac explanation by the ancestor. All right, so essentially, look, I'm gonna go another angle with this. So, pretty much under the 12 signs of the zodiac, the fire signs and the air signs harmonize. That's essentially what this statement is saying here. Persons born under the opposite signs and the angle signs are in harmony with one another in every manner. All right, and this essentially means first-hand knowledge of the sign under which you and your mate were born will guide your destiny in peace, progress, and happiness forever. So it's absolute. Air signs, fire signs harmonize. Water signs, earth signs harmonize. All right. Scorpio, Capricorn, Scorpio, Virgo, Pisces. All right. You see where this is going? Taurus, Pisces, Taurus. You see what I'm saying? These signs harmonize. Essentially, and it's not a theory. It is from a scientific perspective. It is not a theory. Now, listen, the scientists in North America won't deal with this. They will deal with the high sciences of the cosmos, which is under the 12 signs of the zodiac, but they won't tell this perspective to the masses because it would cut down on funding. All right, ignorance has been a money maker here, essentially in North America and the world over. All right, so it's not a theory that the 12 signs of the zodiac is the absolute science of the human family. All right, and under these, and it is the law of nature. Is a measurement of the energies within these bodies, and these energies are categorized with symbols. They come with names and symbols, and are the measurement of energies and the energies that connect and are in harmony. This is essentially what the 12 signs of the zodiac is perpetuating here with this story. It's not a theory. It is law. It is nature's law. All right, and this is how we go back to the mindset of our ancient ancestors. Now, when you go out on dates, you see what I'm saying? The dating scene. This is what I can see. There's a lot of different. When you go on TikTok and you go on Facebook and what's the other one? Instagram. Yeah, Instagram. If you see all these different examples of dating. You see what I'm saying? You'll see people go on dates. You'll see the good. Usually the bad is what you see, and you wonder why you see mostly bad. Well, from my humble observations, all right, my humble observations. I don't claim to know it all. I don't claim to know a lot, but I deal with what I see and what I feel when I see it. All right, I'm seeing these people go on dates. And this is one example. I'm gonna give two examples. I see the people go on dates. They talk about everything under the sun, mostly politics, what you gonna put on, what you got to put on the table, what you got to offer. Do you cook or clean and things like that? Which that's cool. I mean, that's cool. You want to know what your spouse can do, and you want to get people's presentation. All right, their representatives or who they claim to be. It's good if they can answer the questions correctly. All right, that's cool. All right, if they could articulate what they, how much money they make, and you deal with all that. All right, and people been dealing with all that for some years over here in North America, particularly us, the melanated ones who identify as black or Moorish. And we'll get together for the most part, but the divorce rate is horrible. The divorce rate is horrendous, right? I noticed in these conversations, ain't nobody talking about the zodiac signs. Not really. Not that it don't happen, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I've seen every. Of course, some of us deal with it from a horoscope perspective. Where ask what's your sign, and things like that. And if it is in harmony or if it's not in harmony, we'll say little funny things to get the conversation going. If it's not in harmony, but at any rate, I just personally noticed that no one has been, when I'm observing. 75% of these situations are not talking about zodiac connections, which is what and they're saying that maybe you get along, maybe you don't. But if you don't get along, it's because you're a butthead. Somebody a butthead. Somebody's a victim. I'm victimized, but they usually don't get both sides of the story. But this is essentially what you deal with, in those dating scenes versus using the zodiac sign, seeing if. All right, I'm a water sign, you are a earth sign, and we certainly harmonize. And you can usually feel the vibe, kind of like, when you talk politics, you don't like this candidate and you vibe off that. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the way he drink his water and his tea and things like that, you can feel the harmony usually, but when there are disagreements and the energy is not there, you just thinking, you wondering why the energy is not there. And it's essentially because y'all just don't harmonize. That's pretty much it. Y'all don't harmonize. It don't, it's just not gonna work. Because that's a Leo, and you're a Pisces. Water signs and fire signs don't harmonize that well. That's not to say that you can't eventually harmonize on some levels. It's just saying that it's gonna be more of a challenge to. You see, when there's a lack of understanding in certain ways that people give off, or when they talk, or the way they move, or their ideas, there's a disconnection there. You don't see things the same way, and you think they just ignorant, or they just don't have any understanding. When in fact, y'all just don't harmonize energetically. Everything is energy, all right. And so this is why we have to deal with the 12 signs of the zodiac, because it is nature's law. It's not to be. You can't ignore it. You deal with it every day. If you're dealing with people. If you're dealing with any human being on the planet, you're dealing with zodiac law. Not that water signs have to only talk to fire signs. Water signs have to only talk to earth signs. It's just knowing when you know what you're dealing with, you can navigate better here on this planet. You see what I'm saying? This is law. It's essentially law. All right. So of course you can deal with people, but you deal with people better when you know what you're dealing with versus riding blindly, you know what I'm saying, and taking a chance. All right. So we're gonna move along. So I can go some more places, but I think I'm gonna save that for part 2. All right. So I'm gonna move to Article 6 now. Article 6 and 7 here. So Article 6 and 7, man, these are some fascinating articles here, man, that I'm gonna go into. Fascinating articles. Excuse me. These are some fascinating articles here. 6 and 7 that I'm gonna go in on. And hold on, pause. All right, getting this microphone situation here together, because I don't want this thing to cut off on me again like it did before in one of my other podcasts. These little microphones, Tik Tok, cordless microphones, and they work excellent. These microphones work excellent. You usually can hear me loud and clear on these microphones, all right? So this is why I'm using, but I got like 4 of them I have to use. I have to switch them out. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna cut off. And I'll be going in on a hot topic. I'm talking about going in, man. One of these podcasts, I was going in. I mean, some good information, man. The ancestor was downloading some stuff, you know. Going in, man. I was turning around. This thing wasn't even recording. I'm talking to deities, you know. I'm talking to the ancestors. I ain't talking to nobody or no podcast. I don't want to make that mistake. So, all right, Article 6 and 7 of the Zodiac Constitution. Now look, to me, in my humble opinion, these articles here, man, they the cream of the crop. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna call them the cream of the crop. You know what I mean? Fascinating articles, straight to the point. And I'm gonna read Article 6 first, then Article 7. And then I'll go in on some main points about these last 2 articles, all right? I'm going to do these last 2 articles together, all right? Because, I mean, it's a lot about jurisprudence, jurisdiction, courtroom, the Constitution, the Moorish Americans, absolute jurisdiction, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that we have absolute power over here on these lands, all right? However, I'm just gonna read it first before I go in, all right? So, because it's fire, all right? So, Article 6, the one and only universal moral law for unity, peace, and economic and social progress. Now, the Moorish Zodiac Constitution is the only universal unchanged moral law for the human family, for unity, human equality, respect, peace, and economic and social progress. Therefore, every Moor, obeys, and elves must be guided by this Constitution and book, clock, and destiny. Do that which is right by reason and have respect for the white lawmakers and citizens of the Magna Charta Union Society of the 50 states in order to demand respect from them. The white peoples of the Union are guided, let me say this correctly. The quote unquote white peoples of the Union are guided by their Magna Charta traditions and customs, and the Moors are guided by the Zodiac constitutional law. All right, let me slow down a little bit. Get ahead of myself there. Nevertheless, their customs and traditions, including themselves, must be respected by the Moors without submitting themselves to any of the Magna Charta customs. That which is termed the Christian law is a rule of action recorded on paper and supported by authority and force. The Zodiac law of nature is recorded in the wisdom of women and men and supported by moral intelligence, the greatest law. Knowledge of the Zodiac masonry as shown in this Moorish Constitution and also in my book, Clock of Destiny, Volume 1 and 2, will prevent a Moorish American, he or she, from indulging in crime. They then would not have to appear in a courtroom to stand trial. All right? Should a Moorish American who has this Constitution and Book 1 and 2 indulge in crimes such as narcotics, robbery, forgery, prostitution, illegal whiskey, alcohol, illegal schemes, illegal gambling, peace breaking, violence, disrespect for the law of the city, country, state, and federal, they then have incriminated themselves and therefore will be penalized. This Constitution card and book definitely does not protect criminals. Beware. The Clock of Destiny, Moorish American card of identity or identification and Constitution has been registered in the Library of Congress and signed by the author, C.M.Bey. All right? A Moorish American cannot be convicted on false accusations, frame up charges. The evidence against a Moorish American must be concrete proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. The Moorish nation of 150 million, 1951 of U.S.A. shall not be destroyed for lack of truth and knowledge of the law and constitution of the Moors. All right, that's Article 6. All right. So a little bit about Article 6, essentially saying that we must be guided by our Zodiac Constitution when it comes to obeying the law. All right, our Zodiac law and the laws of the said government or corporation in the United States, because we're part and parcel of this said government. All right. Also, it's also talking about the fact that if we don't break the law, we don't have to go into a courtroom. All right, now, look, I know there's more to the story than just me style. We all know this, that, the system is set up against most of the levels of the melanated beings, melanated Moors who identify as black. We have hardships, which includes the fact that the system, if you do commit a crime, you're going to get more time than anybody else. That's an absolute fact. Look, that's what it has been over here, right? Things are changing. However, if we use our brains and our powers, and of course there's, you got your environment. Look, there's explanations. However, most of us that, are victim to these phenomenons know nothing about the Zodiac Constitution. All right, we don't know that we're Moors. We don't know nothing about nothing. We think we came from Africa. We think we came from some other place. We ain't, you know what I'm saying? We know nothing about nothing. Therefore, we feel like we have no other paths, no other way. So we indulge in what our environment presents us, which usually the environment is an urban area that's terrorized by policy enforcers and police, and they target the melanated community, which the melanated community is usually disenfranchised financially. So it's all a system, and we get targeted, we get caught with the illegal substances, stealing, et cetera, et cetera. It's all for profit. All right, but we have the Zodiac Constitution that we don't know about, you that we need to know about, and this will guide us. These laws will guide us, and we won't get picked up or picked out or picked on framed up charges if they, because the United States knows all about the Zodiac Constitution. Oh, they know about this work, all right? So of course we want to make sure we have these on hand, the Zodiac Constitution on hand, to defend ourselves with, along with the Constitution and any other Moorish treaties. Moorish treaties that is evidence, in a courtroom and outside of a courtroom of the truth. You see what I'm saying? Of the law, of Moorish law. All right. Let's see here. So I'm gonna go into 7 is where I'm going to go into 7, Article 7, then I'm going to go back into Article 6 and 7 both and talk about some things, all right? So Article 7, this is the last article here, and it's going to talk about a little more about the jurisdiction in the courtroom, right? And the fact that Moorish Americans are not to be forced. Our hand is not to be forced in a courtroom, all right? So this is what this essentially is talking about, all right? So let me go in on this here. Article 7. The Moorish Americans' freedom and legal in the Christian Union courtroom, right? In the Christian Union courtroom, the Moors cannot be forced to remove their red threads from their heads, nor can they be forced to raise their hand and take an oath over the Christian Bible. Neither can Moors, the Beys, and Elves employ white or Negro lawyers to represent them. The reason for this is that white people, quote-unquote, white people and their quote-unquote Negro slaves definitely cannot represent free Moorish Americans. The quote-unquote Negro is the property of the Union slaveholders. The Moors must protect the court by saying, the Moors must respect the court by saying, I affirm. Here, the court has no jurisdiction over them, which automatically makes them qualified to defend themselves by their Zodiac Constitution law and their mathematical number 9. The number 9 corresponds with letter I based on the 9 months from conception to birth, which makes you, yourself, the great I am, the first and highest law of self. Highest law of self, protection and self-preservation in harmony with your Zodiac, 12 signs, unchanged, constitution, moral law of 360 degrees squared by your number 9. All right. Let's see here. The Moorish Zodiac Constitution is referred to in Christian mythology as the Holy Koan, Aoran, or Al-Koan, meaning the earth, the moon, the sun, and 7 planets are the chronology zodiac record of Moorish nation of the North Gate, North America. The name Muhammad, prophet, religion, God, church, temple, and mosque were established by the Dutch, Anglo-Saxon priesthood Franciscan fathers of North, who overthrew the Moorish Society of Islam between 1789 and the Union of 1863. All right. The Moors, the Beys, and Elves must never attempt to teach or lecture in the Christian institutions, namely church, temple, mosque, school, and hall. This is a violation of the Union Society States' Right, Magna Charter, Code of Mary and Christ. The truth of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution. The Moorish Zodiac Constitution law and moral human principles definitely conflict with the Christian Union customs and doctrine of the Magna Charter from every angle. Nor do not criticize the quote-unquote white people's belief in the religion of their son and woman image, nor do not ever attempt to influence the quote-unquote white people to accept the oral truth and principles of your 12 sign zodiac constitutional law, because the Magna Charta is a Latin phrase meaning Magna Charta of quote-unquote white people's economic and social attraction only, which had its beginning in colonies of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois in 1848, 1854. If the lawmakers of the 50 Union State Society of North America should attempt to ignore the Moorish American Zodiac Law and birthright of this Constitution, it would be an act of supreme violation of their own Magna Charta Code. All right, so we can go in all different directions with this one. All right, but what I want to do is deal with jurisdiction first on this thing. All right, deal with jurisdiction, because jurisdiction comes from jurisprudence. All right, the essence of law. All right, and so since we we're Moors by pedigree, we're from these lands, North America. Now I'm not going to go into if there is any proof or anything, because we all hammer that nail enough. The fact that there's no proof of it, and I think a lot of us know this already. However, we still navigate under the confines of the fairy tale, meaning identifying as colors, street names, etc., which gives any and everybody that wants to make up any type of, let's say, police force, security force, jurisdiction to violate our constitutional rights. All right, and then we won't say nothing about the Constitution. We will only get emotional. Just say, for instance, during police stops. All right, you get pulled over, and they probably pulled you over for something unjustly. Just talking about your tail light out, or you didn't use your signal light when you did, but and they're gonna pull you over anyway because they know you don't know law. They figure you don't know law. You don't know nothing about jurisdiction, and it's usually us that they pulling over because we don't know law. You know what I'm saying? We don't study law. This is historically now. I'm not trying to say what people know and don't know. This is historically, and we know it, and we put it on social media for others to see the example of how they, kind of run us through the ringer, all right, unlawfully. And so instead of talking about constitutionally, what we don't have to do, what their limits are, meaning that, is there an injured party? What did I do? Was there a wreck? Is there an emergency? Et cetera, et cetera. We don't ask questions like that. Did someone get injured? No, you did this. No, you did that. You didn't use your signal light on. You threw a piece of gum out the window. You know what I'm saying? That's lit. Craziness. So because we don't deal with constitutional law, most of us don't know about the Zodiac Constitution, which is nature's law that the Union State Society knows all about. We get ran through the ringer. We get violated. All right. And traditionally, what I can tell you what we have done as a melanated people. It's not good, but what we have done as a melanated people consistently is, instead of dealing with law, we get emotional about what they're doing versus using constitutional law and tell them and let them know and charge them for their violations, their constitutional violations against us, let alone enforcing the Moorish law against them. You see what I'm saying? In unity. We don't do this. We have lacked, doing this portion of things. All right. And it says here in Article 6, it's talking all about it. If we, enforce our Zodiac law and customs, then we will feel compelled not to indulge in crime because we know the truth about us and we know the truth about them. All right. We know that we are nobles over here on these lands and we're Aboriginal over here on these lands. All right. And we're not to be ran through their ringer. And they know this, you know what I'm saying? But we don't know it. And because we don't know it, this is why we go through these hardships over here in North America, all right? Now, another area I wanted to go in on, you know what I'm saying, is the fact that the whole story of the slave ship, all right? Spirit's telling me to go in on this. The slave ship era here, the slave ship story, when we think we came from somewhere else, in mass numbers. And those mass numbers are something like a few million, all right? When they tell the story, they'll say that they brought, 50 million slaves, 30 million slaves, et cetera, And so by telling this story, it gives a false power, to the pale skinned brothers and sisters that claim that they, took over the Moorish nation and things like that, took over the quote unquote Africans and brought them over here. However, you'll see here in the Zodiac Constitution where C.M.Bey releases the actual number of the Moorish, of the Moorish nation, and this is a roundabout number during the 40s. All right, this is the roundabout actual census number of Moors or quote unquote Negroes, quote unquote blacks over here in North America. And that number is 150 million of us alone. This was back in the 40s. All right, or early 50s. You know what I'm saying? 1951. Right here is what it says. It says, the evidence against the Moorish American must be concrete proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. The Moorish nation of 150 million. All right, in 1951 of the United States now destroyed for lack of truth and knowledge of the law and constitution of the Moors. All right, so right there, it's telling you how many of us it was during that time. And so we at least sitting there, I'm just saying, and I think, from a rabbit hole perspective, I think it's twice that much over here of us. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on. But at least, it's at least about 250 million of us by now. It's 2025 now. You know what I'm saying? And so this is just melanated Moors. It's just us melanated people that claim to be, you know what I'm saying? And then when you see programs online, or you see programs on television, it'll say something like, oh, the quote-unquote black community, which make up 8 million people in North America, is a huge psyop. 8 million, and the other communities make up 40 million and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Where it is 250 million of us. Saying that only to say that we've been, how do you bring all those millions of people over here a few hundred years ago? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's tens of millions of people, you know what I'm saying, proliferating in a big ship called Jesus and all this other stuff. How did that happen? You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to go there, but it's just like the psyop is so huge, but as a whole, we still buy into aspects of that psyop or aspects of the false history, but we want something different. We expect a favorable outcome on navigating as Negroes, colors, and blacks. All right, street names and colors. Then we have a whole lineage, a whole Moorish lineage. You know what I'm saying? Then we got Moorish law, the Zodiac Constitution, which is nature's law, which we deal with. The months of the year. You know what I'm saying? You deal with the months of the year. You know what I'm saying? Day by day. You know what I'm saying? At work, in church, etc. You dealing with nature's law. You're dealing with 12 signs of the zodiac, and we'll deal with it on a mildly on a level. You know, and that's our Moorish culture. You see what I'm saying? We deal with our Moorish culture mildly and unconsciously, but then when we get the truth of it, this is as a whole now. This ain't not coming for nobody. All right, this is just as a whole. When we get the truth about why we deal with certain aspects of where the aspects that you're dealing with, where it actually comes from, then we'll look at it and say, "Oh, that's against my religion." Oh, I ain't dealing with that. That ain't my Muslim teacher says that's you know what I'm saying, that's pagan, or that's not gonna work. Or my preacher said that's the devil, or that's another religion, that's another denomination, things like that. But in essence, most of the religious organizations they're dealing with nature's law, because nature is of every religion's creator. Every creator, or the universal creator, but all the names that they call the universal creator, what they're dealing with is the creator's nature. Nature is of the creator. The creator created nature and gave us these energies that our ancestors categorize and assign, just as an explanation to us, so we can identify some of our activities or the reasons why we do what we do, or You see what I'm saying? The connections between us, the harmonizations, they actually put this on paper. And so one of the ancestors that articulated this, C.M.Bey, he placed this manuscript in the Library of Congress under judicial protection, just to let you know it's legitimate, under judicial protection, where you you know what I'm saying, you ain't gonna go put a letter to your girlfriend or to your mama, to anybody, within the Library of Congress. The Congress is some of the highest seats within the United States society, all right, or the United States. That's the highest seat. That's constitutional. The Congress is constitutional. So you're not gonna come up there with any document, you know what I'm saying, trying to place it in there as law. You see what I'm saying? The Zodiac Constitution is constitutional from from the United States constitutional law perspective. All right, it is constitutional, and it is law, and it is enforceable, whether police know it or not. You see what I'm saying? It is enforceable. So we have this as a birthright. The beings in North America that identify as Negroes, colors, and blacks have a whole birthright, a Moorish birthright that we can navigate under. Now we've tried navigating under black. Now just take a look at this. We've tried being blacks. I'm talking politically now because we're not black, but we've tried that approach. You know what I'm saying? Politically. Now you ask yourself, what has it gotten us? Now I ain't talking about the few of us. You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about the ones that, there's a few of us that navigate a certain, I ain't talking to y'all. You figured it out. You associated somehow. You figured out some ways, and I'm not going to go in. I ain't judging nobody, but I'm just saying, as a whole, and I ain't talking about no small percentage of us. I'm talking about as a whole. What has black gotten us? What has African American gotten us? What is two continents, three continents, street names? What is neighborhoods? That's my hood. What has that gotten us? How far has that gotten us from a let's say civilized grown folk perspective? Respect is respect globally. You know what I'm saying? We respect it based off of how much money people can make off of us. You see what I'm saying? Not based off of the people that we are, even though the world knows who we are. You know, they know who we are. They know we're important to this planet because we lead all factions. We are beautiful people. You know what I'm saying? We are talented. We are the leadership of this planet. Yet the world deals with us as savages. You know what I'm saying? And this is us. Now I ain't calling nobody. Now this is us. This is me too. This ain't, oh, I'm above you. Nobody else. I don't see anybody else as above me. I'm talking about us, all of us, whether you agree with it or not. You do the evidence, and I tell you, anybody that don't agree with this, do the knowledge and prove this wrong. If you don't like it, if you don't agree with it, simply prove it wrong. Look at how people deal with us. Look at how they respect us, whether it is out in the open or in secret. Look how you treat it under certain circumstances. You see what I'm saying? And so, walking in the Moorish diet, in our Moorish lineage, changes all of this. You see what I'm saying? The nations of the world have no choice but to respect Moorish law because they know the history. And as a whole, the Asiatics who identify as black, for whatever reason, don't know the history or don't navigate in it or choose not to navigate in it for whatever reason. No judgment here. It's all good. We got our timelines, However, we choose not to navigate and deal with our Moorish lineage and some of our other ancient lineages, all right? In 1776, in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, from a political and legal perspective, we fell, you know what I'm saying, to the Negro status, to the black status, et cetera, all right? Under, let's just say political war, all right? And that's a whole nother podcast in itself. And so essentially we just forgot. You know what I'm saying? We were, after we failed, we were trying to chase all these other political trends, i.e. Negro, colored, and black, which is political. It's a political darkness. It is nature's darkness. It's the dark side. And so it hasn't helped us. Just asking that question, what has it done for us? And then someone asks, well, what is this Moor stuff gonna do for us? You know what I'm saying? Well, I just read the Zodiac Constitution to you. You see what I'm saying? And we as melanated people have not even tried to enforce this as a whole. We ain't even tried. Most of us don't even know about it. A lot of us do. I'm saying that a lot of us do know about this Moor stuff. And so look, if you're for whatever reason religious or you don't deal with it, well, that's your business. But I'm simply putting out is the consequences for not dealing with our zodiac law, which is what the United States or the Union States deal with. They deal with reality. The Vatican deals with reality. The popes are master astrologers. They deal with reality. If you don't believe the popes are master astrologers, well, prove it wrong. That's it. Prove it wrong. It shows it's in Clock of Destinies 1 and 2. It's in some of your almanacs. If you go to the library, ask for an almanac on religion or priest and popes, you're going to see that they are master astrologers. They deal with the cosmos. All right, so they're dealing with the 12 signs of the zodiac, the planets, the energies. But we, the people, we don't want to deal with it. Or if we do deal with it, it's on a lighter scale. And because of that, we live in darkness, but we expect the good things to come from us dealing in ignorance or lack of the knowledge of our true lineage. All right. So what we want to do is strive to change that and get copies of this fascinating document, the Zodiac Constitution. You also want to keep a copy of the Constitution for the United States, 1776 or 77. It was ratified about 10 years after that. But you want to keep copies of these documents in your home. Of course, you want to keep copies of all the treaties, all the treaties, the Moorish treaties. And it's good to have notes of the treaties as well. And these are all enforceable documents, as I said earlier in the podcast. These are enforceable documents that you should practice versing them. You know what I'm saying? Just saying it. You know what I'm saying? It don't hurt just to say it. I mean, when you emotional and you talk to the cops, you say any and everything, don't you? You see what I'm saying? When we get pulled over, we emotional. Look, I done did it before. Look, I've done it before myself a few times, and I'd have been dealing with cops these last 13 years, man, and I done dealt with so many cops getting pulled over, things like that. And I'm talking constitutional, and if, they ain't pushing me around, well, then I know some of the statutes and codes. I deal with them. I have a conversation with them, and I'll move into the Constitution. And usually it'll end well. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed because it wasn't guaranteed for me. However, I was by myself. Now, we come in instead of coming as one finger, if we come as a fist or unity, then it's different. People start talking, Moorish law. That's the highest law on these lands in North America. You know what I'm saying? Moorish law is the Aboriginal law. That's all. That's what it is. It's nothing different. We might paint distinctions. My tribe spoke this language. My tribe spoke that. Yeah, we did. We spoke all different languages till we started hitting Old English and English. You know what I'm saying? English, English. So yeah, that's what we want to navigate toward and become versed in law, and particularly our Moorish law within the Moorish Zodiac Constitution. All right, so this is going to be the end of part 1, and part 2 going to be fire. Now I'm going to tell you, you don't want to catch part 2 because I'm going to deal with some other concepts within the Zodiac Constitution. And this is from a science perspective. Now I'm going to go scientific within this Zodiac Constitution and talk more about the relationships between the planets, not going too far, just as relations to relations, and this is based off the Clocks of Destiny series that the Honorable C.M.Bey or Charles Mosley Bay brought out within his writings. All right, so I'll talk about the relations between the Moorish men and the European women and what it's talking about here in what is this, Article 6, Article 5, and then Article 67. All right. And so so we'll end it here. This is getting that More Stuff podcast. I am Terry Phillips Dangerfield L. And honors to the ancestors, honors to our mama, honors to the honorable prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Of course, most honors to C.M.Bey, most honors to the noble matriarchs, Mother Bedesia L. Bay, Mother Fannie Lou Hamer, Dr. Francis Chris Wilson, strong sisters, strong mothers within the Aboriginal movements, you know what I'm saying? They stood tall and stood strong, man. They wasn't scared of nothing. Them sisters wasn't scared of nothing, man. And they certainly have my respect and honors. And I'm grateful for the work they put in. And I have to extend honors again to C.M.Bey, man. He went through a lot. When you do your studies on C.M.Bey, man, you go online, excuse me, and look at some of these articles online talking about C.M.Bey, preferably on RVBakepublications.com. You got the Clock of Destiny. You can look up the Clock of Destiny, and you can see it's a group called the Clock of Destiny, a school which was formed by C.M.Bey, and they talk a little bit about it's a constitutional school based off of the Zodiac Constitution. They talk a lot about C.M.Bey and what the Zodiac Constitution is supposed to do and how it was supposed to get out to us, the masses, the Moorish nation, who identify as blacks and Negroes. So go online and take a look at that, man, and check it out and print it out, record it for your records, or download it to your phones, your devices, where you have it for study. Because as a political citizen, or as an Aboriginal, you're really obligated to know your law. It's your law. You're really obligated to know it. We're obligated to know this. You know what I'm saying? You're here in the art of jurisprudence. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And that's the truth. You don't know the law, there ain't no excuse. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to know the law. You're supposed to deal with it versus dealing with any type of social, I like you, I don't like you, or I don't, you know what I'm saying? This is essentially how we deal with the police powers. I like you, I don't agree with what you say, I don't agree with this, versus what the law is. Your limitations with law essentially is what constitutions are established for. Protections for the people and the limitations of the police powers against the people and the police governments against the people, and what you're supposed to do for the people, your oaths of office to the people and to the constitutions that you're obligated to. This essentially is how the relationship should work, versus any type of social ties, whether I like you or not, what your religion is as a cop and as a judge and all that other stuff. Of course there's a issue of diversity that comes along with certain things, but that comes with learning nationhood, And but at any rate, all right, I'm gonna end the podcast here. I'm Terry Phillips Dangerfield L. This has been the Zodiac Constitution Part 1. Part 2 coming soon. Peace and love.